Welcome to the Blind Android Users channel. This is your source for everything Android tutorials and demos, all from a blindness perspective. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more content like this.
Hello and welcome to episode 94 of the Blind Android Users podcast. I'm Ed Green and I'm delighted to be back, and I'm joined by my co-hosts Warren Carr, Austin Pinto, Doug Cameron, Fee Dunn, Marion Mosen and John Dyer. And we're recording today on Saturday the 24th of September 2022. On the show for you this week we have our usual announcements section from Austin. That's followed by our Android Basics section, and this week it's all about the medical emergency and SOS section of your settings app. We continue our perambulation through that. We then have the next episode in our popular commentary screen reader series from Mariam, and we close with a tip of the week from John about using Chrome flags. So since I was last on 10 episodes or so back, we have a new co-host. John, I know you're not new to the podcast, but we haven't spoken on here before. How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Slowly recuperating following my broken ankle. Now, John, you've obviously been dire for a while, and I know that's a concern, but I hear there is a firmware upgrade in the offing. Are you any closer from moving from John Dyer to Joe Average?
No. I was guaranteed 0 updates.
Oh no, you got a Motorola. Sorry about that. There I was. I thought you might reach Joe Average, but we love you as you are, so that's fine.
Thank you.
The good thing though, Ed, is that he has the tractor. He's a tractor guy.
He does.
John Dyer. I like that better than John Deere.
Which phone do you think?
It's probably best that I don't use the tractor, but I do have one.
Probably. Which phone is most like a tractor? Nokia, probably.
The Nokia phone? Is that any
probably
good?
That. Well, that's the most tractorish phone, isn't it?
How is it like
maybe
a
one of those from the cats. You know, the Caterpillar ones.
Yeah, I was thinking a bit slow, a bit sluggish, oversized.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Yeah, but all you're doing is plowing the field, right?
Yeah.
Who needs speed on that one?
True. Warren, how are you?
I am doing well, Ed, and we're so thankful that you are back. You're able to move around a little bit now, and so the reason why you're joining us today. So, you know what? You have a beer there, my boy. Can you pop that thing? We just want to celebrate that. Let's do that, shall we?
I can indeed. Let me do that now. 3, 2, 1. There we go.
There we go. And, you know, doing that on our behalf, because we're absolutely happy to see you come back. And we're doing well. We have the fair going on in my little town this weekend. And this year we have something new, because usually it's like the last Friday of September. And then it ends on the first Sunday of October. But this year, for some reason, it's going to last up till the 3rd of October. It started last night.
Nice.
So
does it have
we're all excited.
cars and candy floss, or whatever candy floss is called in the US?
It has all kinds of stuff on there, and kids love it. And for me, though, I usually go there for the barbecue ribs. And I also like the turkey legs, or, you know, stuff like that. They're absolutely beautiful.
Nice. What is candy floss called in the US?
I have no clue what the hell that is.
I'll find out. I'll go on mute in a bit when we're doing something else, and I'll ask my Canadian wife, and she'll tell me. It's kind of fluffy candy.
It's cotton candy.
Oh, cotton candy.
Cotton candy. Yeah, that's right.
Oh, kids love that stuff. You know, have bags of that stuff. Yeah.
I'm obviously still a kid.
I never like that. Yeah, I love sweets. I mean, no, I love candy, any kind of candy, but not that one. I don't care about cotton candy.
For the avoidance of doubt, I am absolutely not a child, just in case anyone was about to suggest otherwise.
Yeah.
So you say.
Well, maybe, you know, in physicality, maybe, but psychologically speaking, that's up for debate. The debate about all of us.
How are you, Dugaboo?
I mean, I'm caffeinated, so I'm clearly doing pretty good. Try not to
Good,
keep
that's
myself in too much trouble.
Yeah. Mariam, how about you?
I'm okay-ish, not bad. Things are
You haven't been indulging in pyramid
uneventful,
selling or
but
anything like that?
Oh no.
Good. How's Jonathan?
Huh?
How's Jonathan?
It's okay.
Oh, Jonathan Moses.
Oh no.
Well, well, hey, what you missed though is that she's now the red-headed stranger. So
She's what?
the red-headed stranger.
She is though. She doesn't have red hair, do you?
Yeah, I don't have black hair.
And now we have the Ed-headed stranger back.
We do. And
Exactly.
Austin, how are you? How's Mumbai?
Mumbai is very good. Today we had extreme amounts of rain. The rain was like at least 15-20 minutes. So it's very nice.
Oh, that's good. And iPhoner, how are you?
Yeah, not bad. It's been a bit of a funny couple of weeks here in London after the Queen died, and there was a big queue to see her coffin for ages. I didn't go. And then this Monday we had the Queen's funeral, and a lot of places closed down and flights were cancelled and things like that. But I think we've gone back to normal now. Of course, the next thing will be the coronation of King Charles III. We don't know when that is yet, I don't think. I also found out that that I am now a storm. It's a storm Fiona. And it's been serious enough to be a cyclone. So take note, I'm not just fiery, I'm stormy now. So don't mess with me. I'm Storm Fiona.
Yeah, generally difficult.
And
So where are you supposedly making landfall?
Isn't it threatening Canada as well?
Oh, yeah.
I read
Yeah,
a little
Nova
bit
Scotia
about
got
it.
Canada.
pinned yesterday. Like,
Yeah, I've already caused power cuts in Puerto Rico.
yeah, if you're the one who's hit Canada, you've done some good damage.
What can I say? I was upset. I was having a bad day.
But really, you had to hit Nova Scotia, the land of the Scottish.
We did catch some of your wind
wasn't-
here in Virginia.
I wasn't thinking it through. I just where I was at the time.
Did you
I
get
just
her
got
back
angry
draft?
and that was it.
Did
you
get her
caught
back
Fiona's
draft?
wind, did you say, John?
Yeah, here in Virginia.
Oh dear.
We caught a bit of your wind. It wasn't pleasant
dear.
to say the least.
No, it wouldn't be.
You need to lay off those sprouts.
Well, in all seriousness, though, if you happen to be living in one of those areas, we sympathize with you guys, and we hope that some help is on the way because some major damage. And sorry about that, guys. Next time, we'll make sure we keep Fee in check.
Yeah,
we'll
I
try
need
anyway.
I need to behave myself, really, don't I? Sorry about that, guys.
You mentioned the Queen's funeral. That the road out of London to Windsor goes about 100 yards past my house. So I tottered down on crutches, and little child and we waved off the cortege on Monday, which is quite good, if a little sore. So
You didn't fancy queuing on crutches, though.
No, there was a queue where you could go to the Tate Britain and get a wristband and then disappear until your time was given, but I didn't do that either. It's a bit far.
And I mean, did either of you guys get the privilege of seeing the Canadian Prime Minister apparently jamming out at one of your
Karaoke.
hotel bars?
No,
No.
I heard about it though.
Yeah, I saw it on the
Singing
news.
Bohemian Rhapsody.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's getting so much flack right now for it. It's kind of sad.
He'd obviously had some beverages.
Was he any good? Can he sing? Did you hear it? Like, was it on YouTube?
I haven't heard it, but I've just heard about it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, me too.
And I mean, I'd rather not actually hear it because I already know the backlash that's coming. So I'm like, I'm avoiding it.
So, Ed, give us a little update as to how you're doing. Of course, you are here, and that tells us you're actually getting better.
Yeah, I'm getting there slowly. So I wasn't able to put any weight on my ankle for 6 weeks post surgery, which was actually sort of 2 weeks after it happened, because I did it in Canada and came back and had the surgery done. I've been able to put weight on it a week this past Monday, and now I've got crutches so I can start to get about and use stairs, so I can go upstairs to do the podcast, which is quite good, rather than being anchored to the couch. And hopefully it will continue to get better until I can ditch the crutches, because using crutches and a white cane is obviously a bit tricky. Well, can't do it, so
Very tricky. And
hopefully I
gotta
can
be careful.
graduate either to one crutch or to no crutches, and then start to be a little bit more mobile. But at least I'm moving around now. I have been to the pub, hooray! And obviously to wave off the cortege. That's about the sum total of my movements. But yeah, it's good to be back on the mend and good to be back on the podcast.
Well, welcome back, Ed. Nice to see you back.
Thank you. And now we'll turn to our announcement section. Austin, what's cooking? What's coming up?
So we cannot believe that we are on episode 94 and we are approaching 100. And so we want to celebrate with you. So we will give more information as the day comes near.
Do we know what that date is off the top of our heads? Do we know when episode 100 is going to
No,
be?
we don't know that.
No, not yet. Well, now we turn to our Android Basic section and we continue our tour of the Settings app. And we've reached the SOS section. So cue ABBA puns, singing along if you like, that sort of thing. I was going to share a screen and play a little bit of SOS, but wasn't sure if that might get us taken down for copyright infringement, so I won't do it. So to introduce this section, here is a tour of those medical SOS emergency services type settings, brought to you by Warren.
So here I am in the system settings, and now I will navigate to the item that we're talking about today, and that will be
Safety and Emergency, Emergency SOS, Medical Info, Alerts.
I will tap here to begin.
Safety and Emergency. Navigate up, button, out of list.
I am now in this area, and as you can tell from the title, this has to be some very private area. This is where you could put your medical information, emergency contacts, and things like that. So, in a sense, this is a very personal area indeed. Let us, however, go through the items that are here, and we may take a look at one or two of these items. Starting from the top, these are the items that we find in this area.
Open Personal Safety, button, in list.
We have an item that says Open Personal Safety. Below that we have
Medical Information, Name, Blood Type, and more.
Medical information, blood type, and more. In other words, should something happen to you and you have all that info in here and you happen to not be able to speak, they can look at that info. And if you need like blood transfusion or whatever the case may be, knowing your blood type will know what type of transfusion you should get, from what blood type that transfusion should be coming from. So you can see why this is important. Next.
Emergency Contacts, no information.
Emergency contacts, that is who to contact should something happen to you and you are unable to speak. Next.
Emergency SOS, managed by Personal Safety.
The SOS is managed by that personal safety, whatever it is that you put in that personal safety. As we saw above, that is powered by that emergency or personal safety rather that we saw up there at the top. And so this will have to do with things like how many times should you press the power key before the emergency is automatically called. Let's move to the next item.
Car crash detection, signed into personal safety.
Car crash detection, and this is something that is specific to Pixel phones, and I know that Google is planning to bring that to Android phones in general, but this is an item that is specific to the Pixel phone, and I think, as a matter of fact, it should be available to every phone, and that's what Google is planning on working on. Next.
Crisis alerts, signed into personal safety.
Crisis alert. You can sign into that personal safety and manage that from there as well. So in other words, basically, it seems like when you tap on that personal safety, it will also have all of these items as well. Let's keep going.
Emergency location service, on.
Emergency location service is on. Of course, if you want people to be able to locate you when you are in an emergency situation, you will need to have this one turned on. Next.
Earthquake alerts, on.
Earthquake alert. You live in places like California and even Washington, you may want to have this one on. Next.
Wireless emergency alerts.
Wireless emergency alerts. So things like Amber Alert, some government announcements, and all of that, weather, severe weather, all of that will fall into this category. And that would be the last of the items in this general overview. Let's go ahead, however, and take a look at these and see which ones are of great importance, even though these are equally important, yet in the same breath, one could deduce as to which ones he or she would rather make available and which ones not to bother with. Let's start at the very top one, which says Personal Safety button.
Open personal safety button.
Open Personal Safety button. I will tap here.
Welcome to personal safety. Quickly connect to the right help with emergency sharing, safety check, and more, out of list.
And that's the information we get. And going down toward the middle.
Select account, Warren Carr, drop-down list.
We're told to select an account, and we have a drop-down with the name in there. And if that's not the account I want to use, I could tap here to go choose another account or add another account, or below that we have the
Continue as Warren Carr button.
Continue, and I tap here, for example.
Personal safety. Progress bar, in progress. Detected, text, C. Personal safety. Add emergency contacts, heading. Add emergency contacts.
We are on this page where we're told to add an emergency contact. And if I move my finger down,
warcare@gmail.com.
keep moving my finger down, or you could swipe from left to right.
Add contact, in list.
We have add contact, and in list we have.
These contacts will be used across personal safety features, out of list.
As you can see, I don't have any contacts in here yet.
To help in an emergency, people can view and call these contacts without unlocking your device.
So what that means is that if you find yourself in an emergency situation, people should be able to call your contact that is listed here without even the need of unlocking your phone.
Skip button.
And at the bottom left, we got skip, or to the right of that,
Next button, disabled.
we have next disabled because I haven't tapped on where it says to add the contact. Now let's go back to the previous screen.
Welcome to personal safety. Quickly connect to the right help with emergency sharing.
I'm going to go back here again.
Safety and emergency. Open personal safety button, in list.
And we had seen some other items like
Medical information, name, blood type, and more.
medical information, blood type, and more. Let's tap here, for example.
Welcome to personal safety. Select account, Warren Carr, drop-down list, out of list.
And here we're told to select an account. Again, it's seeing my account. And so the whole idea is the same idea. Toward the bottom of the phone, we have that continue with,
Continue as Warren Carr button.
or continue as whatever your name is. We tap here.
Personal safety. Detected, text, C, progress bar, in progress. Add emergency contacts. warcare@gmail.com.
And the same idea we saw earlier.
Add contact, in list.
And add contact.
These contacts will be used across personal safety features out of list. To help in an emergency, people can view and call these contacts without unlocking your device. Skip button. Next button disabled.
So as you can see, all these are tied to what I do with that first item. So without doing that, I will have to first create that contact emergency person and all of that. And then all of these will simply tie into it. And that's what this is. And we can look at more, but as I indicated, this is an area that people need to go in and fill out those areas and put in the necessary information that is needed in the case of an emergency that help can be called upon. So that's what these areas are. And now we'll discuss these items and see what the crew comes up with.
Well, there we are. Thank you very much for that, Warren. Is there anything you want to say over and above that to kick off the session?
So, Warren, what is this earthquake alert that you spoke about?
So the earthquake alert is basically, so if one lives in an area that's earthquake prone, say you're in California, even here in Washington, so basically the Pacific Coast in general, whether you are in Oregon, California, or in Washington here, even maybe like Vancouver, so we're all along the coast here on the Pacific Coast, and we do have some parts of the country that are also, earthquake prone. So the whole idea is that you would be alerted when, it's being felt or when it's being noticed, whatever the thing is. I've never seen it in action, so I can't speak to it with any effectiveness, but it's there. By default, it's turned on, and I think that's a good thing. So it's important to have this on, but if you don't want to, you could turn it off because it's a toggle that can be turned on or off.
Yeah, I should also say, Warren, that there's because I looked at it today, and there's something in there called test, which you can test, like you can see it working, and it's going to show you like how things are going to go in case this happens. So if you want to see it in action and try it out, you can do this test right there too.
Exactly. And like I said in the overview of this area, I wasn't going to go into all of these things because if I did, the whole thing is going to be so long. But people need to go in here and look at each of these things because they're important. They're all about your safety, and that's why it's called a safety. And then you have the SOS and all the crisis alerts and all the Amber alerts and all the different alerts that you can think of. So for those of us who are blind, sometimes these things could be a life-saving thing. And it's not just those of us who are blind, but for everyone else, because if you want some emergency service to reach you, you'll have to enable those things. Or if you find yourself in a situation where you're not able to talk, then they should be able to, using your phone, call your loved ones or whatever the case may be. And I think my favorite in here will be also the crash detection, car crash detection, because if you don't do anything like in 10 seconds, it will automatically call emergencies for you. So the emergency is right there at your fingertips. So whether you're driving or not, I think it makes sense to have it because the person you're driving with may not have that on their phone. And if someone is giving you a ride as a blind person, I think I always should have mine on so that should something happen and the other person doesn't have it, then yours would alert the emergency people to come and give you guys a hand or something of the sort. The only problem that I have with it is the fact that this thing is only a Pixel exclusive feature, but Google was talking about bringing it to some other Android devices during Google I/O, and I'm hoping that by now, you know how it is that Google takes its time in rolling out these things, but I'm optimistic this thing is going to be coming to, Android phones, so it's not just going to be a Pixel exclusive like some of the things that used to be Pixel exclusives, and now we have those on other phones as well. So I think that's one of my favorites.
And I would
Warren,
highly
can you
recommend
explain?
to blind people to enable car crash detection, because let's face it, none of us are driving without crashing cars, are we? So it definitely needs to be turned on. Sorry, Fee.
Warren, can you explain to people who might not get that sort of thing in their countries, like for example here in the UK, what amber alerts are, mainly so we know we don't have to worry about them, but also because people where you are might not have used them before either.
So the Amber Alert, I know it's an acronym, and people think it was. There was actually a girl named Amber that was kidnapped or abducted or whatever, but I know it's an acronym of some sort. When someone abducts a kid, because you have crazy people out there, maybe someone having like a custody battle with their spouse or ex-spouse or whatever, and we see that happening and again. I think we had one happen in my area here, maybe like say maybe like 3 weeks ago. And so that went out and they found the person and the child. So it is a very good thing, because when a kid is stolen, I call it stolen because when you take someone by force, they're stealing that person. And so instead of putting pictures on milk boxes or whatever, like they used to do in the past, hey, we're looking for so and so. The last time that they were seen, or the last time that the kid was seen was wearing this kind of clothing and all of that. But an Amber Alert would tell you what kind of car it was that was seen at the scene, carrying the child or abducting the child and things like that. Now, those of us who are blind, we may not be able to be of much help there, but the general public will know what to look for, the license, if the license was captured, but most importantly, the type of vehicle, whether it's a Ford, a Toyota, or whatever. And sometimes they'll tell you what the model is, like whether it's from 2022, 2015, or whatever, things like that. So those are type of things that goes in the Amber Alert.
It stands for Amber's. It stands for America's Missing Broadcast Emergency Response, and was indeed also named after someone called Amber, who sadly, suffered the fate that Warren described. Sorry, Fee.
So you also have weather alerts, don't you, that we don't have here?
Yeah, so we have under that cellular alerts or wireless broadcast or wireless alert. In there, you have all kinds of stuff. You have weather, you have maybe there's a pandemic or something going on. Government can make announcements on there. And so it has different alerts in there as well.
Yeah, especially for something severe, like if there's a tornado in your area or something like that, you'll get alerts for that type of thing.
The other thing to mention about this section as well is that if you do have medical conditions that may incapacitate you and subsequently require revival, so diabetes, if you're likely to enter anaphylactic shock, those sorts of things, then you might well want to set this in your phone so that people can access your medical information and administer the right treatment slightly more speedily than they would otherwise be able to do. So here is where you would go to do that.
I like the fact that you mentioned that, Ed, and most especially if one puts in their blood type in there, because let's say you are in an accident and you need some blood transfusion or whatever the case may be, and they need to know that. So if there's any emergency blood available, you don't want to be given the wrong blood type. So I think it makes sense that they have these things in there. These things were well thought of in their implementation. And I think the guys that came up with this idea were absolutely brilliant people for making that available. Because if I'm going to be getting any blood transfusion, I want to make sure that I get the right one. But, the people who do these things or give these medical aids would like to know so that they can give you immediate help. So, like I said, in the preamble of this, it's a very personal area, yet in the same breath, it's a lifesaver thing because making these things available, you're not helping yourself, but also helping the people who are going to be giving you that aid to know what to do. So it's important that, we go through this and put in the things that we need to put in. And I think another one that I like is that contact. You need to have someone like your family member in the event that something happens and you want someone to be contacted. Of course, something happens. The first thing they want to do, besides taking one to the hospital, is to contact one of your loved ones. And so if you put your loved one's contact in here, those numbers can be dialed without unlocking your phone. So it's not going to be giving the emergency people any access to your phone, but simply by just turning on the power, and they can just make a call your emergency person right there without getting into your phone. So I think that's important.
How that's done? Is it that they just sit the numbers always on the lock screen, or how do they bring that up?
Basically what'll happen is if you have a password, PIN, fingerprint, whatever that may be on your phone, once they go open your phone, they'll be able to swipe up to access the PIN. There's a button in that section that'll allow them to access your emergency medical information, as well as in that area be able to have your phone call your emergency contacts. So anyone who's a actual first responder, whether it's EMS, police, fire, they all have been trained to look for that specifically. If your phone has been set up and you don't have any password protection to it, they will actually go into your contacts list and look at your ICE, which is your emergency contact people, and they will immediately go in there, call that person, or they'll go into your settings and specifically look for your safety and emergency settings to obtain your medical info. So it'll all depend how they access your info, whether your phone is locked or not. But all emergency services have been trained to look for the emergency medical info button. Unless you're in a trauma situation, then they will completely disregard anything on your phone.
And this is why if you've enabled these things, then there would be no need of them going into your system settings and all of that, because all of that info would be right there on that lock screen, which, like I said, would not even have anything to do with accessing your phone. It's there on that security screen, and this becomes available to them, and it's made in such a way that it should be able to make those calls and also give them that medical info. I think it's a great idea. Yeah.
So basically,
there's a button that says emergency, isn't there?
yes,
Yes.
I will actually
Yes.
come up here and tell you what it'll show on a Samsung device. You'll
Good.
have a button that'll pop up.
Delete. Emergency call button.
Okay, I'm just looking for it here.
Password 1.
Oh, I don't have it set up on my phone. So basically, you're supposed to have a button that'll say like emergency call or medical information, and then that'll give them the access. But that's one of the benefits of locking your phone is in an emergency, you don't have to worry about your first responders going through your device, whether intentionally or accidentally. They'll have all the information right on your lock screen.
What
Yeah.
I'm wondering is are there places, for example, to type in what medication you're on and things?
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
if there are, I just wonder, where's that stored? Is it just on your phone, or does it? I mean,
All
obviously,
of that.
All that
So
is on
if
your
you do a
phone.
backup,
On your
Yes.
phone.
I mean, if
It's
you do
local.
a backup, it goes to the cloud, of course. But
No, it
like,
doesn't.
No, Fee, no.
Oh,
This
doesn't it?
does not. No.
No.
This is strictly
So-
on your phone.
All of that information is stored in the same way your passwords are stored. So on a Samsung, your medical information is actually stored on the same chip that controls your fingerprint sensor. So no one else
so
has
it's
access.
just on the phone. So if I get a new Samsung phone,
You will have to
do I
go
have
and
to
enter all
enter
that
that again?
all over again.
Yeah, but that's better. That's more secure. That's good. Actually.
Exactly.
Yeah. That applies more widely, by the way. So if you have security settings, for instance, which let you, let's say you've enabled the device admin app to let you wipe your phone, for instance, that won't carry across either. You've got to go and do all of that again. I'm not so sure how sensible it is that doesn't all carry across. To be honest, I get the sensitivity of some of it. I think they should find a way to enable users to have that ported across, because you might remember to set it up. I don't know, how many phones do you think you own, Warren?
You know what?
Roughly?
I'm going to take that as a challenge. I'm going to set it up on my Pixel 6.
No, but
Pro.
I want to make a point though. How many phones do you own?
Well, I
Roughly.
have several, but I don't.
I know, a ballpark.
He doesn't even know.
Ah,
Yeah.
But
It's
but
like,
how
yeah.
many phones would he have on him in an
Well, no, but this
emergency?
is
That's
the
the
point.
question.
So- but he might carry different
okay,
phones for
so
different
I
reasons.
probably, I'll say maybe 15.
So
I don't want
let's say Warren has 15 phones. He sets this up on 14 out of the 15 phones, and for some reason,
He
who
carries the
knows
15.
why, he's carrying the 15th phone that doesn't have it set up the day he needs
Oh.
it. So
Exactly.
I don't
And then
know
he
why
falls
the
over
information
and
doesn't.
somebody can't.
I don't know why the information
Yeah.
doesn't port across. There's no reason
Yeah, so
for
you know-
that
you know what
information
I'm
to be
gonna
device
do?
specific when there are other security methods to secure that information.
Yeah, it's a
I
bit
agree.
weird.
Yeah.
You know
At
what
least-
I'm
at
gonna
least
do,
we
Ed?
do.
I'm gonna set it up, and then when I get my 7 Pro, I'm gonna see if it brings it from the other phone, just for
We
giggles.
know it doesn't. Doug told us it doesn't. It
Yeah,
doesn't come
it
across.
doesn't. Yeah, so
No,
because I've never
so-
done it, so I can't say whether it does, but I don't think it does. I don't think
I
it
want you
does.
to set it up on all
Mm.
15 of your phones.
What was
I
that?
have a question for you guys. I was gonna say, am I the only one who has accidentally used this emergency SOS where you
Nope.
call
I've done it.
emergency services?
I didn't do it in this operating system, but I did it in a previous life, in a pub, and I was trying to
How?
turn off voiceover because it had gone odd, and re-enable it. But for some reason, it didn't register one of my clicks, so it did it 5 times, and it was noisy, and I hadn't realised it was going. We're going to call emergency services in 30 seconds if you don't do something about this. And then this alarm went off really loud on my phone, which meant I couldn't hear voiceover to stop the call. And it
Oh my
went through.
God.
Yeah, in my case, it was like I had just gotten a new phone, like I do, and it was a OnePlus where they have the volume on the opposite side, and I wasn't used to it yet. So I had started playing something that was too loud, and I was trying to turn it down real quick. So I was pressing the power button over and over, and like the volume's not going down. What's going on here? And then the next thing I know, emergency services, and I'm like, sorry, I called you by accident, and because at first I was about to hang up, and then I thought, don't hang up, they'll like send somebody out. So I was like, oh yeah, sorry, that was an accident. And she was like, are you sure? Are you sure it was an accident? I was like, yes. She was like acting like I needed like cough twice if somebody's there, So I was like, no.
But what that
trust
also
me.
does, by the way, is it will notify your emergency contact that you've done it, as I discovered.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Oh,
Like,
dear.
someone's a complete idiot. Look what they've gone and done. It texts them, and then they go, "Are you okay?" So they get notified if you press that button and you've stored an emergency contact. I don't want to create a perverse incentive for people not to create emergency contacts, by the way, but that happens.
Call them, but how would I call them by accident so that I can like avoid doing?
It's not the emergency contact you call by accident; it's the emergency services.
Yeah,
So
but how would I do
it's
that?
the
I don't
repeat
want to do that. So how can I
It's the
not?
repeat press of the power
If
button,
you
same as it
tap
is on
the
iOS.
power, I think on Pixel phones, if you tap it 5 times, it'll
Yeah, it's
activate the
5.
emergency. I think on Samsung phones, I think maybe even
It's either
3.
3 or 4.
Yeah.
You have to set it to either 3 or 4. I think it's
Yeah.
3 by default, but you could change it to 4.
But can you
You
cancel
can even
it
turn that
beforehand?
off.
Will it
Yeah, you
warn
can
you
if
it's
you're
gonna do it?
alert.
And,
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it's off by default, I think, on Samsung phones. You have to actually go and turn this stuff on.
Oh,
Oh,
good,
that's
because I don't want to be. Knowing me, that would happen all the time. I did it on a watch once, a watch that Warren wouldn't like because it wasn't an Android one.
It's okay.
Yeah,
Must have been
and
a Fitbit.
And
I
I
don't
and
know, Belle,
no,
what
and
this
I
could be
had to say I'm very sorry that was an because again I knew you don't hang up because they might phone you back and say did you call 999 sort of because in
Yeah.
the
I
UK
never
it's
knew Braille
999.
watches could do that.
No, it wasn't a Braille watch.
Anyway, so the other part that I like in here is the crisis alert. And what that is like we were saying earlier before we started talking or recording, is that if there's some bad thing happening in your neighborhood, it will let you know so
Yeah.
you can stay indoors so you're not in the way of, accidental stuff. So that's another
I
I'm
good
really
thing.
glad-
hate this. We don't have
I'm
it in the
glad we
UK.
don't have that here.
No.
because it would
So
go
I had
off
a
all the
broken
time.
ankle in Canada and I wasn't getting much sleep. And I was finally on the interstate to Noddyland after about 5 days. Do not disturb. And my phone, I nearly said the naughty word then, made a noise like an air raid siren going off because someone was out shooting people somewhere. And it's like, I really don't care. You don't need to tell me this. I mean, I don't know what it does in New York City or what it would do in stabbings in London or something, but there's absolutely, you need to be able to turn these off. It's really annoying.
I mean,
Well,
it would be
they're not
handy
on
if-
by default, though. At least here in the US, you have to turn it on or not turn it on.
in London it would be handy when, for example, there was a fire nearby a few months ago and the fire brigade was saying people should keep their windows closed and things because I think it was a tire factory, so it really stank. It was really bad. It might be handy to have things like that, but yeah, if
We
well,
have noses
judging
and stuff like that, though, don't we? Like, you knew it
well,
stank
yeah,
really
there's
bad,
that.
so
Unless
presumably
you
you shut your window.
unless if you can't smell it, it means you might have COVID. But
Yeah, I guess if you get olfactory issues, that's different. Does
yeah.
everyone need emergency alerts?
But I think, judging by the amount of helicopters I hear around here, if they had it for every single time there was some sort of crime nearby, I'd just be throwing the thing out of the window because it would never shut up making annoying sounds.
I just thought it was really 1984 where the little screen goes off in the in the flats and they all have to go and do stuff. It's like, no, I don't need this.
And didn't you say everyone's phones went? It wasn't just yours.
Yeah. Oh no, it all went. That's the whole point.
So everybody woke up.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Even if Do Not Disturb was on.
Oh dear. What would be really good is if you have your location services on, if it knows you're at home, like, or like in a residential place rather than walking about sort of thing, that it would not get, that would be, mind you, I suppose you could be still awake and about to go out, but if it's 3 o'clock in the morning or something, that's a bit stupid.
That'd be quite a lot of privacy information exposure as well, wouldn't it?
Well, it would,
they
wouldn't it?
literally
Yeah.
know where all their citizens were.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure I'd be down with that.
No, I don't mean it would. I don't mean telling the government all that. I just mean the phone could go, I'm not going to make this big noise now because the person's not out anywhere. But
see, I would have thought that's what the Do Not Disturb settings were for.
well, yeah, there's that as well.
Oh yeah, no doubt we'll get them soon. I'm sure these alerts will come to us, and we'll have
Oh
to just go with them.
no.
Yeah, and so really, this is an area that people could go in there. Like I said, lots of them, at least here in the US. And the good thing is that you can choose which ones to turn on and which ones not to turn on. And you guys go in here, explore it, and see what it is that you would like to enable and what you would not like to enable.
And now we have the next in our series demonstrating the best screen reader on Android, Commentary, brought to you by Mariam.
Hello everyone and welcome to a new episode of CSR's Basics. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about a few things that I think are really important that we needed to cover before, and now we have the opportunity to do so. The first thing we're going to talk about today is Virtual Screen, which is a pretty cool feature that the app provides with which you can actually deal with inaccessible apps. It uses OCR to pretty much identify the whole screen for you and label the unlabeled buttons. It's a pretty cool feature. Usually what happens when you turn it on, it takes about 30 seconds for the app to identify the screen depending on your internet connection, and it identifies the whole thing for you, which is, I think, an amazing feature that is going to be pretty useful to so many people. It's pretty much the same as the feature that's in JAWS, Screen Reader JAWS, and NVDA too. Also, I think VoiceOver on iOS has the same feature, though I can't remember what it's called. We also are going to be talking about some new features that got included in the new update of the app. We also are going to talk about random, some random settings in the whole screen reader. Again, I invite you all, if any one of you wants certain things to be demonstrated, feel free to reach me out at any of the communication methods, and I'll be happy to demonstrate those for you. Let's get started and get right into it. I will use the virtual screen with Truecaller. So Truecaller is a call identifier app, and I think someone on our mailing list was asking for an app that is a call identifier. I personally use Truecaller, and the first thing that happened with me was the fact that when I first opened the app and I signed up, the signing up process was pretty accessible, but then the app was not accessible, surprisingly, even though I have installed it before and it was completely accessible. I had to use virtual screen to do my thing, and it worked pretty well. Also, we have a food ordering service. It's called Talabot, and sometimes for some reason the screen reader seems to lag with it, seems to not find certain buttons to order or some things like that, which are pretty necessary. What I did was I used the virtual screen feature, and I was able to identify all the buttons in the app, and it worked pretty well. So we'll see about that. It's pretty good because, again, it detects everything. It identifies buttons, and it works pretty well. Let's do it and try it out. So
1:15 p.m. Back button. Access. Home button. Camera.
we are going to go to Truecaller.
Page 3 of app screen. GShow Plus. OneNote. Meet. iTeams. Hi native. Search. More options. Search. Hi. IEL Teams. IE Truecaller. OneNote. Truecaller. Keypad button. Search numbers, names, and more. Purple button.
As you can see, it's actually accessible for some reason. Like when I first opened it, it was not accessible, but we have some
Button. Purple button.
unlabeled buttons here. Let's see if the screen reader is going to identify all of these buttons. And by the way, sometimes they can be some things that are hidden that you didn't notice, and when you use the virtual screen feature, they actually become clear, and you can see those hidden buttons or graphics that you didn't see.
Search numbers. Main menu.
So to get to the virtual screen, what you can do is either do a shortcut for it or a gesture for it, as we learned before, and I will do it. I will touch up on that in just a minute. Or the normal thing that any user can do without doing any shortcuts or gestures or setting anything up. They can open the main menu and then
More button.
click on more,
Main menu. Main menu.
and then
Function advanced. Reading list browsing.
find the virtual
No
screen.
read the whole full text. Voices. Recognize commentary extensions. Tools. Programs. Disable. Disable. Notificate. Advanced. Edit gesture. Disable virtual screen.
There you go. There is it. So the virtual screen will open. We'll click on it.
Search numbers, names, and more.
It just said recognizing, by the way, but the screen reader,
Capital S.
yeah. And when it does that, it means that it's actually done working. Now, because the Truecaller app got an update a couple days ago, it was things got improved. So that's why it didn't take too much time. Usually, when it's like a totally inaccessible app, it takes more time.
Multi-click mode checkbox unchecked.
We have those settings. Those are related to the app. Multi-click mode. That's when you can use like multiple fingers to click on things.
Real-time recognition checkbox unchecked.
Real-time recognition. This is actually a pretty cool feature that I see. It's really useful. So what it does, it actually detects things that are not recognized by OCR in real time, which is amazing. So the things that the screen reader missed, or anything like that, or if you get to another page of the app while still in virtual screen mode, because we're going to cover that in a minute. Virtual screen mode, you cannot, it's in full screen mode. And we're going to talk about setting that, how can you get out of it. A gesture that you can, set up from the settings. So it's in full screen mode, so you cannot really find any of the, if you have the navigation bar, the recents, home and back buttons, you cannot use them.
Full stop.
In that case. So real-time recognition, if you're in full screen mode, you cannot
WhatsApp
use
1387.
OCR. You can use the real-time recognition to recognize any buttons for you.
Capital M.
And we start with the buttons and the things that it recognized.
Search numbers, names and more.
You have the search numbers.
Capital V. Capital S. Capital C. 2 meters. 2D. Setup video. Mom. Solaris Foo. Mom. Setup 2D.
It sometimes can mess it up. Like the buttons are they're not really labeled, right? But there's something.
Setup video.
This was not labeled.
Mom. Select caller ID. Mobile. Caller ID. Mobile.
You can literally press any of those buttons and it's going to work
Mobile.
perfectly
Mobile. Caller ID disabled.
fine. Caller ID disabled. This one was not accessible. You can open that to turn it on.
Set Truecaller as default caller ID app to block. Calls and identify numbers. Learn more. Enable. Mom.
Enable.
7. 2N. Outgoing call. Yesterday.
It shows you calls and all that. Now, what you need to do to get out of this. There's no cancel button. There's nothing you can do. But what you can do is basically, you can use the gestures for like back and home. Or you can, if you...
2N. Set call. Mobile. Call. Cookies.
If you can click on any of these.
Long press keypad button.
It got you out of it, right? So it got you out of the virtual screen.
Home button.
Now,
One UI camera.
if you want to use a gesture to get out of the full screen mode with a certain gesture, because I know this can be a pain for some people. If you use Android 11 or above, what you can do is, go to
Main menu. Current time. Disable program settings.
Program settings.
Visual plus. Back button. One UI home. Labels. Default.
Okay.
Labels. Default. Main menu. Extensions. Voice assist. Extent. Program settings. Visual plus. Reading settings.
And you can go
20 million.
to
Bug. Size. 50. Back button. Extension tools. Download additional resource tool. Advanced settings.
advanced settings.
Advanced settings. Backup and restore. Cloud backup. Use commentary wallpaper. Beta. Cloud backup. Others. Profiles. Menu customization. Profile. Other settings. Other setting. Checkbox up. Cursor highlight. Use the custom phonetics interpretation data. Cursor. Check. Other settings. Enable auto up. Download commentary screen. Back button. Advanced. Use comment. Navigate up button. Back button. Reasons button. One UI. Truecaller. Voice recorder. Stop button. Pause.
So
Accessibility button. Back button. Reasons button. One UI. G2O plus. Advanced settings.
we go to the advanced settings and
Auto start plugins.
We-
Article reading. Auto scheduled tasks. Resource manager.
go to
Commentary text. Operation settings.
operation settings.
Operation. Use gestures to switch candidates while typing. Check. Box unchecked controls whether shortcuts.
What we're looking for is
Remember, lift your finger to act. Use one finger full screen navigation gestures. Check box unchecked. Swipe up from the bottom part of the screen to execute full screen gestures. Android 11 and above.
this one. What it does is it executes full screen gestures, right? So there are certain like gestures in the app, the screen reader itself, that are first screen, like the granular editing mode, or the virtual screen, for instance. This one will execute those and also turn them off if you want to get out of them, which is a pretty cool feature, because sometimes you won't be able to get out of the full screen mode. Now, I should say that in certain apps, they can straight away get you into full screen mode, and you don't need it, and you feel like you want to get out of it, but you don't know how, so you get stuck. That's how you do it. Again, you can also use the back and home gestures if you set those. Those can totally work in full screen mode. Can get you anywhere else. But I'm talking here about people who use the navigation bar. They can use that. Also, what we're going to cover today as well is a pretty cool new feature in the sound scheme. I forgot to talk about that one last time, but it's a simple feature, not really something major. It's a minor thing, but I know that some people have been asking for it. So we want to go to the sound scheme settings.
1:27 p.m. Back button. Advanced settings. Visual plot. Visual general. E20. Visual 20. General settings. TTS set. Feedback settings.
Feedback settings.
Feedback settings. Sound feedback checkbox checked. Feedback settings.
We've already gone through that before and explained every single item, but
labels default.
I want here. So we have the
sound feedback checkbox checked.
The checkbox if you want to enable sound scheme.
Sound scheme volume.
I'll go over them pretty quick. The volume.
Sound scheme.
The sound scheme if you want to pick one.
Apple Team Original Team 570 sound scheme.
The title of the sound scheme that you're using right now.
Sound scheme manager.
The manager if you want to pretty much adjust or edit any of the sound scheme. By the way,
Apple Team Original Team 5.
This title, if you also click on the name of the sound scheme, you can definitely edit the settings of it, like adjust sounds and all that. If you want to, change any certain sound of the scheme. Some people actually can do sound scheme that have lots of sounds for only one action, and you can change them, which is pretty cool, I feel like. So you can do that. We have an episode in which we explained that in more details.
Sound scheme. Download more sound themes.
And we want this one. Download more sound themes. Now, for you to download in earlier versions of the app, the screen reader, if you wanted to download sound schemes, what you had to do was go
full stop.
to the download.
Haptic feedback intensity. Haptic feedback checkbox.
What you needed to do is go to download additional resources and then go to sound scheme and then pick one. But here,
download sound scheme. Download more sound themes.
if you click on that button,
sound scheme. Sound enter keyword text box.
it gets you right into downloading sound scheme. The server to download all the sound schemes.
Button. Enter keyword text box.
You can look for a certain sound scheme here, type just a name of it, and you can find it.
Button.
This button, this unlabeled button, or I should say untranslated button, it's probably, in Chinese, it's probably labeled, that's for fact, because it's screen reader, obviously. This is to clear the edit box.
Chain plus Bismarck Venial SPK.
And here we have all the sound schemes.
Chain plus Brian S. Sons due to Claro Duop. Claro Glitter. Simple Flash Sound Bubble Claro. Simple Flash Sound Bubble. Jaguars Crystallinus Bis. Biaswap. Bubble Claro. Tomative Mary Louise.
You can definitely click on any one of it and then hit download, and then when it gets downloaded, it would tell you if you want to import it to the sound schemes or not. Once it gets imported, it will get you right into sound schemes that so that you can select it and use it right away. Now, we're going to talk about something else, which is actually pretty important. People sometimes want to use it, and I don't personally use it, but some people I know are wanting it. So, let's go back.
Back button. Feedback settings. Visual plus.
And we need to go to the operation settings.
Notification reading settings. Advanced settings. Extensions.
Now, don't mess things up. Don't get confused between the operation settings and the advanced settings and the operation settings, that's like in general, right? So because there's a huge difference between both.
Notification reading settings. Operation settings.
So we need the operation settings in general, which is right
English Clubbers just tweeted.
when you
English Clubbers just
open
tweeted.
the program settings.
The operation set. Part scheme set. Shortcut keys. Part scheme. Clicking action settings.
We want clicking action settings.
Clicking action setting. Single tap activates the focused item checkbox. Unchecked controls whether clicking only once on the element activates it.
This is what we're looking for. So here in the clicking actions, you can pretty much select every like clicking action that you do. If you want a single tap, I know some people actually love the single tap and they don't prefer using the double tap, which is pretty cool. I mean, it's a matter of taste. So you can definitely turn that on and it will pretty much, you can use the single tap. It was a beta feature, but now it's not.
Lift your finger to activate the item under. A checkbox unchecked controls whether lifting the finger off the screen activates the element under the finger. If the finger is kept on the screen for a certain time, the element is not activated.
So what this means is usually you can, what we do, we usually swipe and lift our finger, then double tap, right? But here, what you can do if you enable this feature, you can pretty much keep your finger on the screen and start scrolling. And once you want to scroll a certain item, you can just lift your finger right away. If your finger stayed longer, the screen reader would consider it would consider it another action, which we'll talk about in a minute. So it really depends on the time period that you keep your finger on the screen. So you need to let the screen reader know whether once you lift your finger it would activate the item, or if it's just you're just keeping your finger on the screen to probably long click, which we'll talk about in a minute.
Use the raw click instead of accessibility click checkbox. Unchecked controls whether a raw click is used instead of accessibility click. This option simulates a physical click in the element's position, which might improve accessibility of some applications.
Right, so this one is pretty useful, I would say, because in certain apps, once you try to click on items, they usually don't work for some reason. I used to, so in the Storygraph app, if you use it, which is a book tracking app, once you use it and you want to add a book to your to read pile or TBR or want to read list or whatever you want to call it, once you click on that button, it doesn't work. What I do was I set a gesture for a raw click, because you can do that. You can set a gesture for it. You can either set a gesture for it, or you can include it in the menu, the main menu, and use it once you when you need it, or you can enable it right away and use it to in everything without needing to setting a gesture for it. I prefer, honestly, because not every single app would do that with me. So I usually just enable it what I want. But if you do want to enable it in every thing else,
use the raw click and
you can definitely enable that.
Checkbox checked.
And
checkbox unchecked.
It'll work pretty well too.
Perform the long click action when finger stays on an element for a long time. Checkbox unchecked controls whether the long click action is simulated when your finger stays on a given element for 1 second.
Right. So this one works along with the item that we talked about earlier, which was
lift your finger to activate the item under. A checkbox unchecked controls whether lifting the finger off the screen activates the element under the finger.
If you enable this and enable
perform the long click action when finger stays on an element for a long time. Checkbox unchecked control.
Then the screen reader if you lift your finger right away, it take it as a click. If you leave your finger for a second, it will consider it as a long click. That's why they work together. That's why I mentioned that before, earlier.
Display the shortcut menu on long press. Checkbox unchecked controls whether the shortcut menu is displayed when your finger stays on an element for a longer time.
This one works with them as well. What usually happens? You keep your finger on the screen on a certain item. Lift your finger right away, it'll click. Leave it for a second, it will long click. Leave it for 2 seconds, it will expand the shortcut menu for this certain app or certain item. Excuse me.
Display unavailable actions in the shortcut menu. Checkbox checked.
Unavailable actions, which means the actions menu. Usually there are certain actions that are not available. I prefer leaving that on, because sometimes the screen reader wouldn't know which actions are available, which actions are not. It doesn't happen often, but it does in some cases.
Double tap and hold delay 750.
The double tap and hold delay. So usually this one I leave it like it is because it's not really a delay, but some people want it to be faster, especially with older phones. It would work pretty well. So this is like 750 milliseconds. You can definitely open this
Double
one.
tap and hold delay. Double short unchecked. Double tap and hold delay.
We can pick
Short unchecked.
short,
Medium checked.
medium,
Long unchecked.
long. The
Medium checked.
medium is the one checked here, which is like 750.
Long unchecked.
Long.
Cancel button. Double tap and hold. Short unchecked.
You cannot type in a value, unfortunately. You can either pick short, medium, or long in that case.
Back button. Clicking act. Lift your double tap and hold. Lift your clicking action set. Lift your finger to activate the software navigation key under a checkbox unchecked.
So the software navigation key, which is when you have a certain navigation key in a certain app and you just lift your finger of it, it can work right away. It doesn't have to be a double tap action either. So this is how things, how it goes here.
Lift your finger to activate the display unavailable actions. Lift your finger to activate the software navigation. Lift your finger to activate the menu option under a checkbox unchecked. Double tap and hold. Lift your finger to activate the menu.
This one is also important. So if you remember, we had this circle thing with talkback when, before the menus, when you used to spin your finger in a circle and lift your finger off when you want to select a certain item. This is pretty much the same. Usually when you open a menu, you use the gesture, probably the down or right gesture, and you keep your finger on the screen and you start scrolling. And once you get to the item you're looking for, you just lift your finger and it's going to activate it right away. This is how it works. So that's what I love about this computer. It's pretty customizable for some people who want just to use the clicking, those clicking actions. They can definitely activate them and use them right away. If people want to use just the usual double tap and swipe, it's perfectly fine as well. This is what's really perfect about this screen reader. Now, I'm going to talk about something that's also really crucial for people who have some problems with the screen reader. I know I touched on that the previous episode, but it won't do us any harm, especially with people who have some problems with the screen reader and killing the screen reader, because it can be a huge issue. If you don't have any screen reader else. Although, let me take this to speak about a pretty important thing that you need to do. If you have a Samsung phone, you can select up to I think 3 shortcut keys: the volume up and the power button, or a side key, if I should say, or the 2 volume buttons. Or you can even pick an app and use the side key. If you click on it 2 times, you can pick a certain app for the system to turn on. So what I do, because sometimes I can get stuck, which doesn't happen often, but just in case, I usually get talkback. I give it the permission to use the side key and up button, the volume up button, and CSR, I give it the permission to use the volume up and volume down buttons. So that's what I do, because whenever I get stuck, whether with talkback or CSR, because it can happen, right? Everything is possible. I can turn the other screen reader on and it will get me right to it without needing any sighted assistance. Also, something to keep in mind, you can also use Bixby or Google Assistant to do either of the things. You could just say Bixby, call it, I don't want to say the magic message, and it tell it to turn on talkback, or get you to the home screen. By the way, it can work too, or you can tell it to restart the phone. But also keep in mind that if you want to do any of these actions, if you have a fingerprint on or a pin set, you would have to open that. You would have to unlock the phone first, because it doesn't trust anyone else. It can be someone else messing with your phone.
Clicking action setting. Display the shortcut.
Now, killing the screen reader. We need to go to advanced settings.
Back button. Operation settings. G2 plug. G2 plug. Extensions. Advanced settings. Advanced setting. Auto start plugin. Schedule tech. Resource manager. Commentary tech. Operation set. Power management settings.
Power management settings.
Labels. Default. Power management set. Power saving mode. Checkbox unchecked. It is recommended to check this option when the standby power consumption is too high.
Right, we've already gone through that before, but it's the power saving, because I see so many people talking about this. The power saving, if the screen reader consumes so much of battery, because it's always on standby. Notice, screen reader CSR is always running in the background. It's always on top of every certain app, so it can definitely consume your battery, especially for certain phones. What you can do is use the power saving, right?
Prevent killing the screen reader checkbox checked. It is recommended to check this option if the screen reader is often killed by the system.
Prevent killing the screen reader. It's actually checked by default.
Prevent killing the screen reader checkbox checked. It is recommended to check.
It's checked by default, right? So this prevents the screen reader from being killed by the system. Certain systems fight the screen reader, thinking that it's not usual process. So usually when you give it this permission, it doesn't happen often.
Power management settings.
But if you did all these things and the screen reader is still being killed by the system, what you can do is
back button. Advanced
go
settings.
back.
Other settings. Backup and restore. Cloud backup and restore. Use commentary wallpaper. Beta. Off. Some phones have extreme battery restrictions enabled by default. If the screen reader is killed by the battery optimization module, enabling this option will set commentary screen reader as a wallpaper host, reducing this effect.
Right. So this feature is pretty useful because if you activated all these settings and enabled them, what you do is it didn't work, right? What you do is you go to the advanced settings like we are right now and enable this. Keep in mind that this one is still in beta, but they work on it. It actually gives the screen reader the permission to work as a wallpaper. So the developer is doing his best, his absolute best, because some people are actually complaining about certain issues with killing the screen reader being killed by the system operations, which is totally understandable. I hope all you are just patient with us, because apparently the developer is working pretty well. He's trying his best. He's doing hard work. He's working really hard to day and night to get the best work for you out and for any user. So you just have to be patient with him, and things are definitely going to pick up pretty soon. So that was it for today. I hope you liked the episode today and it was useful for you. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach me out at contactus@blindandroidusers.com, and I'll be happy to answer all your questions and to demonstrate all the features that you like. Hope you like this one, and see you next week. Thank you so much for listening.
Isn't it good, Warren, to have such a fully featured screen reader on the operating system?
I don't know how much time we're going to beat this dead horse to death.
You just admit it.
He's got to rub it in on me every single time.
You just admit it, because let's face it. If you count features definitely, are better. TalkBack, no. Although I was actually thanking TalkBack.
There's something though that I will say I like about the commentary screen reader that John had talked about, and that's the ability to use a gesture to mute the microphone if you know what you're doing.
Yeah, the shortcuts.
So I give them credit. I think that's brilliant.
Shortcut gestures. By the way, for the listeners, you can actually find this episode. I think it was the 11th or Old Falls or something. Which was one of the last ones. We explained that and went over it, and it's such a cool feature.
Yeah.
Yep, I'm using it right now.
Yep.
I mean, whatever you think of commentary, I saw someone, I can't remember if it was the email group or Telegram the other day, described TalkBack as highly customizable, which I thought was a very odd description of TalkBack
What?
because obviously
What?
highly
Oh.
customizable, it absolutely ain't. Like
Oh, no.
on anybody's measure, no, even if commentary didn't exist.
Haven't you met, like, did you meet Talkback? Like, did you know?
Like, I don't know, like on what? On what level is it highly customizable? It just isn't. I mean, that's
I have to
fine.
say,
Like it,
well,
I'm not saying it needs to be.
I have to say, compared with, I was mucking about with my Amazon Fire tablet the other day, which, I mean, they have their own version of Android, but it is an Android variant. And compared with their screen reader, Voice View, TalkBack definitely is customizable. Oh God!
Compared to
Set
any
off
screen
my
reader on
age
any other
device.
operating system, it isn't, is it? Like, like compared to commentary, compared to I don't care really. Narrator, NVDA,
Commentary
Jaws,
is the
voiceover, it
best
just
screen
isn't.
reader.
Thank you, Austin.
Commentary
You're
is
the
the best
best.
screen reader.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks for waking Austin up, Miriam.
No problem.
You talk about
think
you
that-
talk about the Joshua screen reader, and the Joshua screen reader woke Austin up. Great.
What?
That's how beautiful it is, you know.
I use both of them though, and that's the beautiful thing is that you can use more than one.
You
You
can.
still
I
have
just thought
to. But John, you have so many phones. Like, how do you do that?
How do I use two screen readers?
No, I mean, because I thought commentary had to be just on one phone if it was the fully featured
Oh,
version,
I
or have they
just
changed that now?
transfer my license when I get a new phone. I just send an email to the developer, and usually within like 24 hours, he'll transfer my license.
Yeah, it's
Isn't that
pretty-
like really annoying?
Not really.
No, it actually he did it within
it
like
probably
20
is for
minutes
Lee,
last week.
not for John so much.
Yeah, exactly. He's like,
Actually,
He's really pissed off with
he's
him.
gonna put a filter on his email for like
Yeah.
John.
Yeah, but
John
if you
got a
will,
new
if
phone.
you will make, yeah, but if you will make people, rather than give them just a sign in or something, if you will make people email you all the time, it's sort of your own fault, really, isn't it?
I agree with you,
Yeah.
actually, especially the fact that it's only one developer. Can you believe it? Like, it's only one person who does all this work, which is surprisingly pretty funny to me. I mean, other than the translators who translate the app, but for the most part, it's one developer. He applies to
Yeah.
emails, develops the app. It's just
And it's a very usable screen reader, even if you don't have the premium version. So I can still get it up and
Mhm.
running immediately, but I just won't have any of the premium features until I
for
transfer
app
my license.
gestures, the virtual screen, the OCR. Yeah.
Anyway, I think that he should come up with a better implementation on how people activate those licenses when you have a new phone. This was one of the things I didn't like about mobile speak or talks, all of that. I think that was one thing I didn't like.
Yeah, it's
you
okay.
Yeah, that
get
was
it,
annoying.
tied to your phone. That's stupid. I don't want to be using a one phone, and then, when I get a new phone, I have to go find where you're hiding at and try to get that. I think that's stupid.
I think what he's going to implement next is the fact that he's going to kind of like probably sync that with the account, because usually you can make an account on the server. So probably this will be the case futurely.
Because
With mobile
if
speak, I
something,
think they did make it so that you could tie it to your phone number after a while.
yeah, I don't like that. So what if something
No, but it was
happens?
better than your phone, so at least you could get and put your SIM in a different phone.
Yeah,
That was
makes
better
sense.
than just
Yes.
being tied to the phone, but it's still a bit annoying.
It is annoying, and my whole thing is that we talked about emergency here in this episode. What if something happens to that guy and he can respond to stuff?
Yeah.
You are toast. So I think the whole thing is silly. There should have been a better way of implementing that.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that there might be wider strategic questions for the screen reader if something happened to the guy,
Yes.
as well as some administrative tactical ones about activations.
Yeah, I can just send him an email like, what if something happened to you? What if you died?
He needs to listen to the Blind Android Users podcast,
I'll cheer him up.
episode 94. Miriam, do me a favor, tell him to
email to
listen to
him,
episode
subject.
94.
Okay.
Imagine that. You send him an email. Subject, what if you die?
What would I do?
Don't you
Presumably
care
he'll
about your
reply and
users?
say, I don't care that, will I? Because I'm dead. So I'm
That
not
will,
bothered.
that will be the best email ever.
Yeah, you know
They'll
what?
probably go in your
What
spam.
if you die?
They probably think it's an advert for a funeral director or something.
But no, seriously, he needs to do something about it. And I can see why he may not want to do that, because it's possible we got a lot of brilliant people out there. Someone could hack whatever the
Yes,
side.
which is the
But
yeah.
then that's why he needs to bring the damn thing onto the Play Store and call it good.
It's not his problem, you know. Like, well, wait. It's
Well,
like
we had the guy from that, what was that fitness app called, Revision, on, and that was on the Play Store, wasn't it? So once you have an account, you can just use it on whatever phone. You could even use it on iOS as well. You know, if it's your account.
I think SuperSense does. There's plenty, like, well,
It's a
Audible
much
does.
better
Super
system.
Sense does, Envision does, Acapella, TTS Engine, they all do it. I mean, so why is it so difficult and,
Exactly.
doing things the old school way?
hell,
I just
you
don't
use
like that.
Acapella on up to like 5 phones at the same time with your email. It's not really a problem. So yeah, I think this is the downside of the whole screen reader. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a shame.
And it was on the Play Store briefly, although you couldn't make in-app purchases.
It was,
through it.
but apparently, well, so you used to get updates, but they were pretty like delayed, and not all the features would come, which was hilarious.
So that's
And you
what
couldn't-
betas. That's
couldn't
what
make the
betas.
in-app purchases.
That's what betas are for. People who want quicker updates should just opt into the beta.
No, that's
Yeah.
not my point.
It-
The thing is, they used to, well, so they release updates pretty much every month, like every single month regularly. But on the Play Store, it's like they get updates every 6 months or so.
No.
The commentary version in the Play Store did. He didn't update
Yeah,
the commentary
but
version. on the Play Store.
that's his fault. It's not the Play Store.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
If he
that's
can,
what I'm saying.
if he can build up, push out updates every week on the Play Store is not going to tell him, hey, you shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah.
They wouldn't do that.
Yep.
But that was the best
it's
email
true.
ever. What if you die?
Yeah. Yes. I think what we should call this episode "What If You Die."
Yeah, don't send don't try this at home, folks. Don't send everyone your emails that say what if
Yeah,
you
what if
die.
you die?
It's not a good
Oh, I don't
idea.
know. You probably
Well,
could. You give it a go if you want.
listen, though, there's nothing to fear about death. It's reality, whether we like it or not. It's something that will happen to every one of us. So
Very
I'm not
nice
afraid of stuff
email
like
to send.
Oh no.
that.
I mean, that would be a good way to make people read your emails, though.
Thank you.
I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, right.
I wouldn't. I'd think it's spam and delete it straight away.
Me too. But I think if you want people to read an email on a mail list or an announcement or something, it's like, what if you die, guys? I was like, what the?
I would read that just out of sheer curiosity.
Yeah.
I will read it.
And we close the podcast this week with a tip of the week from John. And this is about using Chrome flags.
Hello, John here. And for the tip this week, this is going to be for our low vision listeners, and it has to do with dark mode. A lot of low vision Android users choose to use dark mode because it makes things a lot easier. The problem, though, is that although it applies to a lot of apps and it even applies to Chrome, it doesn't apply to the actual websites. So I'm going to show you how to change that so that you can view just about any website with a dark theme. So first thing you're going to do is open Chrome.
Chrome. Search or type web address, edit box.
And now where we would normally put the web address we want to go to, we're going to put Chrome://flags. So that's CHROME://flags. And you're welcome to use whatever keyboard you want for this, but just to make it easier, I'm going to use a talkback voice command. Type Chrome://flags.
CHROME://flags. Edit box. Search or type web address. Go. Window Gboard.
I'm going to hit go on the keyboard.
Web view. Keyboard hidden. Edit box. Search flags. Available. Unavailable. Detected. Text QShark flags.
Okay, so it's brought us to the Chrome flags page in the browser. And the edit box is in focus to do a search because there's a lot of settings in here, but we know exactly what we want. So we're going to search for dark mode. Type dark mode.
Dark mode. One result for dark mode.
All right, and so on this page we should find
Collapsed. Default. Menu pop-up button. Auto dark mode for web contents.
there's a drop-down menu that you can open up and select different ways to change the colors.
Chrome. Checked. Default.
It's on default, by default, of course.
Enabled.
I'm going to select Enable.
Chrome. Expanded. Default. Menu pop-up button. Auto dark mode for web contents.
Now, there's a lot of different options you can choose. I just chose the basic Enable, but there's a whole bunch of different methods of inverting colors or changing colors that you can choose from. But this has worked out for me, so that's the one I use, but you can toy around with the different ones if you would like to. So after you've changed this drop down, what you're going to do is near the bottom right,
Relaunch button.
you're going to have to hit the relaunch button because this won't take effect until Chrome has been relaunched.
One UI home. Chrome. 0% progress bar. Edit box. Search flags. Detected. Text. Search F flags.
Okay, so it's restarted Chrome. I'm still on the same page. And from now on, all of the websites should show up in a dark theme.
Thanks, John. That's it from us for this week. Thank you very much for listening. We shall all see you next week. Austin, where can people find us?
For people to look